Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex. Sort of predicted yesterday that the Braves would go 0-4, and they're well on their way. Another one-run loss, and I'm not even going to really talk about it. We've seen that song and dance. Like the 10th inning comes up, the 11th inning comes up. You start with a runner on second, you can't do anything with it. Even the top of the lineup, when you need them, they don't do it. Like that is the story of the Atlanta Braves season. We don't need to talk about it because we've literally watched it for 90 straight games. What we did learn yesterday that I think is pretty telling, a couple of rumors, and one of them I really want to discuss is Alex Anthopoulos doubling down. Now, this is a report from Fansided's Robert Murray, who usually has very, very accurate information, and we heard it from Alex Anthopoulos' mouth just a few weeks ago that the Braves are not even, and I want to be like very what he said. This is a word-for-word quote, will not even consider trading any one of their core players that is locked up into team control. Now, what core players means, it sounds like pretty much anybody that they've signed outside of maybe some relievers, but they won't even consider trading them. And then obviously Chris Sale was the headliner, which I got to hear your opinions on, Alex.
Yeah, I assume it's not relievers. So I'll base my opinion on that because I would be even more aggressive if it didn't even include guys like Pierce Johnson and Aaron Bummer. But even still, I mean, this is a insane way to approach team building. But it's really par for the course that Alex Anthopoulos has been for the past few years where, like I said earlier in the week, it seemingly was, we pulled all the right strings. We pushed all the right buttons. You bring in a bum from LA. He comes and he becomes the best version of himself. Now everything is flip-flopped. I don't know how you're being this. This is the exact thing he did with the coaches, and then we had wholesales changing on the coaching staff. He said it with the with payroll. Payroll's down $20 or whatever $30 million. This is the kind of stuff where this is strike three, so to speak, where you say these stuff and then maybe you trade somebody who's got line. It's like, are you even like? You have no foresight whatsoever. It used to be that Alex Anthopoulos was really he was transparent as he could be, but he never gave you an inch. And now he's saying, without a doubt, I am not trading anybody with team control, which is, first of all, just dumb to say in general. Second of all, it's even dumber to follow through with it and not even hear people out. Like Shawn Murphy is arguably, I don't even think it's arguable anymore. Like Shawn Murphy is your best trade chip, even more than Chris Sale. And for you to not even listen to, what if somebody offers you the best shortstop prospect in baseball? You're saying no? No, I can't. He's signed for 2026. Like, obviously you're going to listen, so don't even say that in the first place. Like, it's just weird. Everything.
It's weird that it's come out that it's doubled down, right? Sources have come out, and this is kind of how
after 3-11 stretch.
Yeah, this is kind of how I imagine it. Robert Murray is poking around. He's got some guys in front offices. He's like, "Hey, what are the Braves saying when you ask about Chris Sale?" And I guarantee you, and it's like they said no, and we're not considering guys, so don't come calling back. I mean, that's pretty much the way this report was written. I'm going to choose, though, and I'm not hating on Robert Murray. I want to emphasize the fact that he is a fantastic baseball insider, and usually what he says, he breaks news all the time, is worth its weight in gold. I can't believe it. I physically cannot believe that they would not listen to offers on these players. Like, you're telling me that you've watched all of these issues over the last two seasons, and they are issues. You can blame issues, injuries in 2024, but there were also issues with guys underperforming. And then those guys have bled and emphasized and gotten worse into 2025. And you have a team that's like a bottom five, playing like a bottom five team in baseball, may end up with the fifth worst record or worse. Like, they're a bottom five team in baseball. This has been happening for years. You're telling me you're just going to be like, nah, let's just run it back again. Let's just run it back. I can fix this in free agency. And by the way, we don't have a ton of money. I said this. We have money to fix the issues in free agency, but there are a lot of holes on this team. Not enough money, not nearly enough money to fix all these holes. So the fact that you're not listening, and I'm not saying there's any particular player on this roster that I'm in love with trading given the circumstances. I'm not in love with selling low on Harris or Albies. It doesn't really make too much sense. I'm definitely not giving up Austin Riley because I think his value's a little too low. Matt Olson and Acuna and in my opinion, Drake Baldwin, but I'd listen to theories on Drake Baldwin are off limits. But I'm listening to everything except for Acuna and maybe Olson. Like, I am my ears are open because There is a lot of work to be done. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that all we're going to fix this issue, we're going to fix all of these issues through free agency, we're going to be in the same spot next year. So the fact that you're not listening when desperate teams could come calling makes literally no sense. So if this is true, it's moronic, which the way the Braves have acted over the last couple years has been moronic. So maybe it is true. I, as a fan, am just hoping that this is not true, hoping that there is going to be someone, a voice of reason in the room. Maybe Alex Anthopoulos has a dream tomorrow and says, hey, you're being an idiot. Please listen to these offers. This shortstop will turn in to the next Derek Jeter. I don't know what needs to happen, but it is moronic, malpractice, idiotic, every other word in the book, not to listen to offers on pretty much everyone. Even if you say no, it's fine. Say no. But you can't just turn them away at the door and be like, nah, man, we made a promise. We like our core. How do you like the core? How do you like? I like all of these guys. I grew to love. We all grew to love all of them. We're all growing to hate them now.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the core is two guys tremendously underperforming. And if you expect those guys to at least bounce back to league average, which I don't think is completely unreasonable, then you're looking like a much different team. Plus a whole season of Jurickson Profar, who seemingly does have a little bit of power. Maybe it wasn't the steroids. I don't know. But I don't we're going to be contenders in 2026. Do there need to be improvements, especially on the margins? Yeah, absolutely. I think you'd be an absolute bonehead to just expect things to change based off health and positive regression. That alone is not enough. For me. And it begins at this trade deadline. The offseason is effectively starting now. 2026 is starting now. And I'm not talking about just the trade deadline. We just talked about it, guys. Some no names coming up, potentially carving out a role to see what they can provide in 2026. Nacho Alvarez. What the hell are we still doing with Ozzy Albies? What the hell are we still doing with Marcell Ozuna in the lineup every single night? These are the kinds of things, and it's just one more, notch on the belt of what the hell is this organization doing with the trade deadline of not listening to anybody, past 2025. It's absolutely, it's shocking is what it is. And that's why I will agree with you that I don't believe it. I'm just going to choose not to believe it because nobody can be that dumb. Nobody can be that dumb. Everybody's got a price. And obviously sometimes it's not met, but what's the harm in being like Shawn Murphy for your 5 best prospects? And they're like, no. It's okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can't be this moronic. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're right. I don't believe that.
You have to listen to offers. Even on outside of Acuna, even on Matt Olson, if someone was I'm not saying you want to trade Matt Olson. I'm not saying you want to trade half of these guys. I just mentioned, the
only guy that really makes sense is Shawn Murphy.
But to not listen to him is ridiculous. And I will push back on the idea that we're all just assuming that this team is going to be contenders next year because I'm not buying it. I am not buying it. I've watched this team for 2 straight. I'm not saying listen, they could be a fringe playoff team, but they are nowhere close to winning a World Series. They are so far away from where they were several years ago. Up and down this lineup, there are holes everywhere. And it may be Michael Harris, but that's not enough. Second base is a legitimate hole now. Shortstop's a legitimate hole. Marcell Ozuna's gone next year. Your rotation is dealing with a ton of injuries and a ton of injury-prone guys. The bullpen is not very good. There are holes everywhere. I'm not just sitting here saying, hey, if we run it back with the same group and improve on the margins, we're going to be a contender, maybe a playoff contender, but we are far away from the Los Angeles Dodgers. We are not, we would get smoked in a playoff series versus a healthy Dodgers team. Absolutely taken to the woodshed, beaten like a stepchild. Just killed. So there's a lot of work to be done. And if you're not willing to listen on any of these guys, what are we doing here? This next piece of information is interesting because of what we just talked about, right? They're not going to look to trade anybody past this season, but then we get Jim Bowden come out and say, hey, the Rays and Padres are trying to acquire Shawn Murphy, which kind of sounds like there's at least been such some sort of conversation there, even if it hasn't gotten to the tracks yet. There's a conversation there. There's been a phone call there, and they haven't totally been hung up the phone. Maybe they have, and maybe that's where Robert Murray got his information that they just turned him away. We're not giving away Sale. We're not giving away Murphy. Nothing. But that's the guy that we're all talking about because the catcher situation, when you look at all these holes, and yes, it's very nice to have two catchers. I mean, the Braves have been blessed with that for nearly a decade, and it's been a great thing to have. And not many teams have it, but there's a reason not many teams have it. And there's a reason catchers are so valuable. And Shawn Murphy's a top 10, definitely, maybe even a top 5 catcher in the game on a very, very palatable contract for the next half decade. So he's going to get a pretty penny. And you think about it, hey, Drake Baldwin steps in, plays the everyday role. You get a veteran catcher like Travis d'Arnaud to back him up that doesn't cost that much money. Very, very simple. And maybe you get the shortstop of the future, or maybe you get the second baseman of the future, or something like that. Makes a lot of sense. So it's another reason why we're just scratching our heads. Like, I'm not saying I want to trade Shawn Murphy. I even am open to the idea of looking at Drake Baldwin, because as we mentioned.
Well, yeah, I agree. I would trade Drake. I mean, it's really hard because you're balancing, just talking about which catcher you would rather trade. And I know 75, maybe even more percent of Braves country wants Shawn Murphy out of Atlanta for whatever reason. Good Lord. I don't know how you watch this team every night and think Shawn Murphy's a bad player. I mean, he's every single night, he and Acuna, Riley, and Olsen are literally the 4 guys who hit. That is literally it. Him, Murphy, whoever's catching, and then those 3 guys, they're the only ones who hit. And Austin Riley sometimes forgets how to hit the ball as well. So I don't know how people are. And you know what's so funny is the same people who want Shawn Murphy out of Atlanta are the same people who are like, hey, he's going to get a king's ransom. It was like, so he either sucks or he's going to get a king's ransom, because if he sucks, he doesn't have any trade value. The fact is, he's really damn good. The fact is, you're right. He is a fringe top 5 catcher in baseball. And if he played a full-time role, I would firmly believe he's a top 5 catcher. I think the same could be said for Drake Baldwin. But we have 2 top 10 catchers because they split time and they don't really ever get in a group. But hey, if one DH, who knows? I think that what I was getting back to saying is all of these guys are ultra valuable. And if you look at, you said it, all the holes, it's a luxury we can no longer afford. And the reason why I was so adamant about not trading either of them, because I was still banking on Mike Harris not being the worst hitter in baseball. I was banking on Ozzie Albies not being 45 years old. Like, I was banking on Austin Riley turning into that MVP caliber player. I wasn't banking on our 2 best pitchers going on the IL. Like, now we cannot afford this luxury. 2025 is over. Like, this is all about 2026. Like, I'm going to keep saying it. So for you to not even consider trading Shawn Murphy, and the Rays and Padres both have a guy who's pretty both of them, each of them have a respective shortstop in their system that is very close to the major leagues. Now, obviously, I don't remember his name, but the Padres guy is unbelievable. They might not even agree to that. But, this is one of those conversations that we're dumbfounded or not even being had, because, you don't know unless you ask. It's much better to be told no than just being like, oh, I wonder if I was ever going to get that raise. It's like, well, you didn't ask, idiot.
Well, even if, let's say, Shawn Murphy doesn't necessarily equate to one of those prospects that you're talking about.
Well, let's throw somebody else in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Let's work something out.
If Dylan Lee, I love Dylan Lee. He's been great. But if that's what gets you your shortstop of the future,
buy Dylan Lee.
Raisel Iglesias, Pierce Johnson, all those guys, like,
yes.
if it's a reliever, if it's multiple relievers, hey, if you can get the shortstop of the future for Shawn Murphy, you definitely got to consider. I would say that's really key when you're talking about the Shawn Murphy trade, because I think you need to figure out, and this is why I think you might want to do this in the offseason, the more that I think about it. If you're looking squarely at the shortstop position that's been a black hole for several years, yes. If a deal comes off where you think you can get it, yes, that's going to be a hole. You're not going to be able to fill it pretty much anyway. We've tried the last 3 years, haven't been able to do it. But second base, not only do you have Ozzie Albies hoping that you can bounce back and maybe be a piece of the team, but you also have Nacho Alvarez that you're going to see in the second half. So you want to see if one of those guys can be the answer, and you don't want to go overkill at one position because you're just doing the same thing like you do at catcher.
Well, I was just going to, you could even ask Profar to come play second base. I don't even think that's the craziest
And Michael
thing.
Harris, you obviously want to see if he can bounce back in the second half. So for me, if I'm trading Shawn Murphy or Drake Baldwin, it is for that shortstop. Like, we are getting close to major league ready shortstop.
Think about the team that you could possibly be acquiring that player from. Like, maybe he is a major leaguer and they have a surplus of infielders and they're okay with trading one of their major league ready shortstops right now. Like, they're not going to do that in the middle of the season because they need him right now. They might need time to address, that second baseman moves over to shortstop and yada, yada, yada. I know the Padres have 15 middle infielders, even still after moving one of them this offseason. So And it's such a big decision that like the trade deadline is as hectic as possibly can be. Like, and I know Alex Anthopoulos is still good at his job. Like, we're giving him flack and all this stuff. He won a World Series. Let's not, act like this guy is Terry Fontenot by any means. But I still think that like it's going to be so hectic that like making a move like this is so. I mean, this could crush your organization. It really could.
Well, where does I like to think, I was thinking about this in the car the other day, but it's kind of like the confidence when you're on a hot streak. Like there was a while there for Alex Anthopoulos where everything he touched turned to gold, and now everything he touched is turning to coal. And it's like, it's like your golf swing. It's like you start getting the yips, or it's like your game at the bar. You're when you're going hot, you got the smoothest game ever. You're confident. You're walking out
Gambler,
there.
you don't even have to look.
Gambler.
I know which one.
And then you start second guessing yourself. And it's, I think it's very possible to be like looking at this and being like, man, that Jerkson Profar thing, I spent $42 million. Oh, Jared Kelenic, that was kind of stupid. Oh, this trade was not that good, and all these moves. And it's just, I think that's a factor in life. So I think it's kind of like we got the cold gambler up there trying to pull the strings. So I thought that was an interesting analogy that, you're alone thinking about what the hell is going on with this team. But that's
you should ask his son. Maybe his son knows.
That is how I did it. We got some more to talk about after the break. The Georgia Bulldogs, for the first time in a while, have a lot of questions. And it's not questions because they don't have talents. It's questions because it's talent that hasn't really seen the field on both sides of the ball, at least in a Bulldogs uniform. But still, to me, when I look at the Georgia Bulldogs, and everyone wants to point at the new faces on defense and stuff like that, when you have Kirby Smart and you recruit at the kind of level that they do and the kind of freaks that they just put in, I mean, there's a new guy every year. We're talking about like Jalen, like every year it's a new guy. We're like, oh, that guy's going to go and be a first round pick. So as long as Kirby Smart's there, I ain't ever going to worry about the Georgia Bulldogs defense. That's going to be one of the top defenses in the country. Offensively, though, I think you have a lot of questions, and I think it starts with three spots. And if you have anything else, you can tell me, even if it's on the defensive side of the ball. But obviously, Gunnar Stockton taking over this first full season as a starter. There's offensive line, which all of them went to the NFL and they sucked. Like the last, not that the individuals sucked, but they sucked as a unit last year when
Which
it came.
Perplexing.
Yeah. How do they all go to the NFL?
And they'll probably go on and have pretty damn good careers.
Yeah, but they could not run the ball. Specifically, they could not run the ball, which was the first time we've really seen that since Kirby Smart's taken over. And then you got all the new receivers and a lot of sexy new pieces that you brought in through the transfer portal. You're getting Colby Young back. So a lot of moving parts on this offense that I think will determine the success of the Georgia Bulldog season.
Yeah, I think it starts up front. I think Kirby Smart would tell you. I think any football knower would tell you that. And that, Gunnar Stockton's the sexy pick in terms of the questions. But, if everything else is working, Gunnar Stockton's going to look pretty damn good. I mean, a lot of people forget Stetson Bennett was great on the margins, but those teams were unbelievable between the tackles. They, that's why, and Stetson Bennett lived up to the hype, when the lights were brightest, and that's the step that you hope Gunnar Stockton can take. But it starts with offensive line play. And it wasn't even like the offensive line was bad all year. It was just very inconsistent. And I guess you have to find that consistency. You have to find that consistency every single week, every single quarter, every single drive. You have to be consistent. And that is, what was so strange about last year is that we've never seen this from a Kirby Smart coach football team. I mean, this is one of the most disciplined football teams, disciplined programs on the field that we have ever seen. I mean, he is, it is a Nick Saban blueprint that practices are harder than the game.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, the running the ball thing was something, and you can go through, I mean, we mentioned Stetson Bennett, but just think about Carson Beck last year. Like, he was not nearly this was a guy that was projected to be a Heisman front runner and the number one overall pick, and he fell flat. And you're like, why? Well, you know what the best, especially at the collegiate level, the best friend is being able to run the football. I mean, even the best quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, they could run the hell out of the football. They could hand the ball at any time and go get 6 or 7 yards. And when you have that, everything else opens up. I do wonder how Gunnar Stockton's legs and his mobility and how they're able to utilize that will help out a bunch of new guys, because I think there's a yin and yang. Like, as much as you need those guys to kind of develop into those roles, it's going to take some time, and you got to take some pressure on them. And you know what takes some pressure off of them? having the quarterback's ability to run. So Mike Bobo, new quarterback, probably couldn't implement that as much with Gunnar last season when he came in kind of off a whim. But this year, especially with those opening games that are cupcake games before you get into Tennessee, I look to see a little bit of that to try to take some pressure off the big uglies up front.
Yeah, you could definitely manufacture some run game with Gunnar Stockton. He is not even sneaky athletic. He is very athletic. Like Stetson Bennett was sneaky athletic. Gunnar Stockton is a Gruden grinder. I mean, the guy's a football player. And I think you love that. And even more so, that'll get the big uglies fired up. You see your quarterback take a hit from a linebacker. Kirby hates it. Bobo hates it. But those big uglies love it. I mean, that'll get them fired up. I think from a passing standpoint, though, Gunnar Stockton is just like his offensive line. It's going to be a consistency thing. It's going to be one of those, getting the ebbs and flows of a game and making the right decisions. But everything I saw from Texas to Notre Dame, I am not worried about Gunnar Stockton. His deep ball was pretty. It was accurate. I don't think he made terrible decisions. I think, in fact, he made pretty damn good decisions. I think the negative play that you're really thinking of in your mind, that Notre Dame, that's not on him. I mean, you're saying, he's got to get rid of it. You got to get rid of it. No, that's on Bobo. That's on the offensive line. You got to know that guy has not been in many of these situations. In fact, I think that situation is going to be gold for him moving forward.
Yeah, the way that I look at Georgia going into the season, the big uglies are them getting going. And
everything else will fall into place.
That goes into place. That takes you to like the quarterfinals right there of the college football playoff, maybe even the semifinals. But the difference in them being national champions this year is going to be Gunnar Stockton. And we talk about it all the time, right? There's going to be a moment. Yep. Just like we saw with Stetson Bennett against Ohio State and several times where he had to make the plays, and that's why he became a legend. It wasn't like he was out there every single game going absolutely nuts like Cam 100%. Newton. It was when the lights were the brightest, he went delivered out and made plays. Alabama, he didn't have the greatest game, but that touchdown to Mitchell down the sideline was the game. That was the difference in the game, and he made those plays. Gunnar Stockton doesn't have to be Joe Burrow, but in those big moments at the end of the year, can he progress enough to rise and shine and be big against very good defenses? Because you're going to see the Notre Dames, you're going to see the Ohio States, and everyone else is going to have a good defense when you get to that level, and he's going to have to make plays with the game on the line. And I think that's the difference. To me, it's like offensive line gets you there, and then, the receivers too. I mean, the receivers are part of this because they were a huge problem last year.
You just get. I'm not even worried about the wide receivers. They brought in a couple of cats that everybody's excited about.
Zachary Brandt.
Yeah, they're going to be
young coming back.
They're going to be great, but like it doesn't even really matter what they do because you cannot be worse than what happened. Leading the country at a school like UGA, in leading the nation in drops and yards lost, 2 drops. That is unfathomable to me. That is unfathomable. And that's a Penn State. We are still running a 2000s offense that is absolutely unacceptable, and I don't think that's going to happen.
I agree, and I think that having those weapons, the weapons that they have, that Gunnar Stockton has at his disposal.
Do you want to talk about a deep ball and those 2 guys? Those are deep ball threats. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a fun offense.
It's night and day difference, but I think it starts with the big uglies, and then the guy that takes them over the top is Gunnar Stockton. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about the biggest threats in the SEC this year to the Georgia Bulldogs. It's a wide open conference with a lot of question marks on every team, which should make it very exciting. The college football season is around the corner, less than 2 months. I mean, I looked up and I saw LSU in that first weekend. And did you see the slate? Alabama, Florida State, Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Clemson. I mean, God. And we're talking about August 31st. We're talking about damn near 6 weeks, people. 6 weeks.
That's my daddy's birthday. He's gonna want me drunk.
Yeah,
he wouldn't want me to be sober. He wants me drunk.
We are going to be enjoying the hell out of this. And this year, the NIL undoubtedly, as we've talked about over the last year, has evened the playing field, and we'll see how it shifts when more rules are put into play. But right now, it's still the wild, wild west, and some teams can spend more than others, and they're stealing 5 stars away from guys that usually went to the SEC, and it's even the playing field inside the conference. I mean, there are questions on every single one of these football teams. But Alex, I want to ask you, who do you think, in your mind, is the biggest threat to Georgia to win the SEC championship this year?
Not homers. The SEC still runs through Athens. I don't know why everybody outside of the SEC still thinks like Texas came in and dominated. They lost twice and once to a backup while they had the lead going into the second half. So, yes, In fact, the SEC still runs through Kirby Smart. And I think you start right there. You can start at Texas and Bama. And I'm actually going to put Bama ahead of Texas. Now, Texas has the better quarterback. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But that's where it stops. Like, first of all, Bama's defense is going to surprise a lot of people. So the people who don't necessarily get in the nut and bolts of the offseason and the recruiting classes from 2 years ago and things like that, this Alabama defense is going to be absurd. I'm talking like, vintage Nick Saban. What we currently know, Kirby Smart's defense is going to be insane. And now you've got Ryan Grubb back, who was at Washington with Michael Penix and DeBoer. He went to Seattle for a stint, didn't work out. He's back in Tuscaloosa. Ty Simpson just, keep the train on the tracks, and then when you need to make a play, possibly make the play. That's where it is for me. In Texas, they're right there. They're right there with Alabama, I would say. But the fact is Sark is owned by Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart owns Sark. And guess what? Kalen DeBoer owns Steve Sarkisian as well.
I'm all in on Alabama. And
which makes you sick.
Their defense is going to be disgusting. Yeah. Maybe the best in the conference. I think they'll be right there with Georgia, which is, it lost its way at times over the even under Saban.
It's hard to have a good defense in today's.
Yeah, it lost. Yeah, especially when you don't have literally every 5-star athlete starting at every single
so
position.
Guy gets hurt. It's like, oh, come on.
Their wide receiver room is going to be the best in the country. I know Jeremiah Smith's up there, and Alabama's.
I was going to say LSU.
Alabama's. Even still, I think they'll be the best in the country at the wide receiver position. Obviously, the big question, as with Georgia, is the quarterback position. Can Ty Simpson elevate this team to a national championship contender? I think it's the same thing. Except I think Alabama has more pieces in place than Georgia does right now. So I know people that know Ty Simpson. They have all the faith in the world. Now that just might be
they're all Bama fans.
Well, they literally played with them. But I also think
they had all the faith in Jalen Milroe too.
Well, no. See, that's the thing. They wanted Ty to start over Jalen. And here's the biggest thing to me. Ty Simpson is a Kalen DeBoer, a Ryan Grubb type quarterback. Where Jalen Milroe,
they inherited Jalen Milroe. Yeah, they inherited Ty Simpson too, but closer in line.
Yeah, closer in line. So I think that's a big thing, and we'll see if he can elevate that team. I'm not going out there and putting Heisman predictions out there, but I do think they're going to have a lot of success offensively to pair with that defense, and they're going to be
Howard was nothing to write home about. Won a natty.
But then I'm going to go full homer. Like I don't know if just as the season creeps closer,
get a little crazy.
I get a little crazier. I'm like, you know what? LSU's just going to go out there and win the national championship. I'm bought in, man. Like, what they did defensively in that secondary, they completely transformed it. They get Perkins back. They have Whit Weeks, who might be the best linebacker in the country. Defensive line, they loaded up there in the transfer portal as well. I'm not sure they're going to be pressure guys, as we all hope. I got questions about Peyton Turner because what he did at Florida State, but super athlete. Offensively, you do have some questions on the offensive line, much like Georgia, but Nussmeier, these receivers, Durham, Harlem Berry, the freshman that they got weapons. If they can hold up across the front, that's going to be a scary team. And then you get Blake Baker in year 2, and all of a sudden, I'm here. I'm babbling about him. You're going to hear for the next 6 weeks until they lose to Clemson, because I know that's happening. That doesn't mean they're out of the race, man. But I'm bought in. In terms of the national championship contenders, I bought into at least them being in the contending circle of SEC teams.
Yeah, it's time for Brian Kelly. And he put his money where his mouth is after losing Bryce Underwood, and they've been on a tear when it comes to the recruiting, especially the guys who are helping this year. And a couple of freshmen are going to have roles for this LSU Tiger team. I'm really living and dying. I do think, first of all, LSU's defense wasn't good last year, but from where it was night and day from Jaden Daniels' Heisman run, and it was the worst defense in LSU history to where it was, which is it was probably about average around the country, but that is astronomical. Like, if we just had a NCAA average defense, we win the national championship with Jaden Daniels, or at least get there. And so that's what you're kind of hoping for. And you're hoping that Garrett Nussmeier, I am skeptical on Garrett Nussmeier, because Garrett Nussmeier has stuff that you can't teach. He's got Sunday stuff. He's got things like you can only hope. Like Stetson Bennett was a Gruden grinder gamer. He was that guy. He'll never come close to what Garrett Nussmeier has right here. What Stetson Bennett had that Garrett Nussmeier doesn't is the stuff you can teach. It's all up here. Garrett Nussmeier does some of the most incredible things you've ever seen done with a football, and then he does some of the most moronic things you've ever seen with a football. The hope is You teach them some things. Second year with the team, a second year with some studs, some wide receiver studs. Some guys, a lot of people are not talking about.
Nick Anderson,
Aaron Anderson. Yeah, there is a ton of weapons at LSU. I've got questions about Garrett Nussmeier. I just, you have to take that next step as well.
Yeah, very, very, very true. I mean, definitely the turnover thing was a problem. You hope that with a year that those are things that usually get better, especially when you have all these weapons. But they have to be able to run the ball better. And they could not run the ball last year, so that hurt Garrett Nussmeier, and they got to be able to protect him. If they can do those two things, I think he's going to be a much better decision maker.
Brian Kelly's got to be better too. Brian Kelly has come into multiple games and just been outcoached, flat out outcoached.
The last team I want to talk about, and we're not going to get to Texas because we don't have enough time. I totally think Texas is firmly in there, maybe even the favorite. They're right up there in the circle, but I just want to talk about this sleeper team that we kind of talked about earlier in the week. Nobody's talking about Ole Miss. And I know they lost Jackson Dart, and I know they haven't been to the college football playoff this year, but Austin Simmons is a guy that they really believe in. And when you got Lane Kiffin pulling the strings, it's a lot easier. And I know Lane Kiffin, he shot himself in the foot. I mean, Ole Miss,
they should have been a playoff.
They should have been They to me, had the best roster in the country last year, and they lost 3 games they shouldn't have lost. Shouldn't have lost to Florida. No business. Shouldn't have lost to LSU, and shouldn't have lost to Kentucky. Like, what do we do? Like, those 3 games for that team.
I mean, they whooped Georgia. They dominated
for that
Georgia.
team to lose those 3 games. That's Lane Kiffin not getting his guys ready for those kind of matchups. And I know they were ready for LSU, but the other 2, like, they walked into places and they got whooped. And that's unfortunate because I thought they had a great team. But I think eventually every coach goes through the trials and the tribulations, and I have a lot of faith.
Well, Kirby Smart was a complete choker, never filled Nick Saban's shoes until he won back-to-back.
Everyone's not that guy until they are that guy. I mean, Ryan Day. He's that
perfect example.
He wasn't that guy until they are that guy. They're really good coaches, man, and it's really hard to win. It's really hard to keep a bunch of 18
like
and
the only one of them gets to win now.
21-year-olds focused, and they run ramshot through the entire transfer portal every single year. They did it again
other than this year. LSU was top.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, they're
always at the top.
They bring in a big class that I feel like they found a formula that works in this thing. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Ole Miss.
Me too. I mean, it's between those 5 teams, and you could take that to the bank. I don't care what you say about Tennessee. It's a joke. Josh Heupel will never beat Kirby Smart. Doesn't matter. South Carolina, give me a break. Sellers is awesome, but give me a break. Florida, give me a break.
Let's talk about a couple of those teams.
All right, sure. Let's waste our time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not
time.
necessarily talking about them as championship contenders, but like,
will they get over 500?
No, stop it. You know what? If you're watching, you're one of those. I'm not with him. I'm not
a bum team.
Alex, you brought up some teams that we didn't talk about, and I agree. Those are the 4 or 5 teams that I believe can win the SEC. But if there was a surprise team, I do want to know. I know you were just like crapping on all of them, but if there was anyone that you were like, maybe if I squint hard enough, there's a 5%
I've
chance.
got one for you. That not a lot of people. I poo-pooed on this guy maybe this past year because he's a dork, and some of the NIL comments I did not like, and he coaches for one of the smallest schools in the SEC. Nobody's given this guy a chance. Eli Drinkowitz is a damn good coach. Whoever gives that guy a chance, he might be the most underrated coach in the SEC. Missouri constantly has their best. I mean, Blake Baker was the best defensive coordinator in the country, and LSU just goes, we'll pay you more than anyone else. And he leaves, takes his whole staff. And guess what they just did? Had a pretty damn good defense in the first year without Blake Baker, without the guys to really compete. I mean, let's not, make no bones about it. Missouri has got a second-rate roster, and they constantly give these top dogs a run for their money.
I'll tell you, I'm glad you brought up Missouri, because Missouri is one of those teams that when nobody's talking about them, they're the most dangerous team in the country. When you finally start to believe, like last year, everyone came in the season, Missouri could be good. Luther Burden, they bring, I forget what the quarterback's name, but they were bringing him, Brady Cook. But everyone was talking about them, right? And then they sucked. But when no one's talking about Missouri, scary team. And Columbia is just one of those weird, quiet, but if you're a big team, it gets loud, and no one's thinking about Columbia.
That's Georgia. Georgia fans know.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play, and it's out there in Missouri. It's silent.
Nobody wants to go there.
Yeah, exactly, except for some drunk Mizzou fans when you come to town. So when nobody's talking about Mizzou, that's good. A lot of the popular pick will be South Carolina. I'm in on Lenora Sellers. I'm so all in on Lenora Sellers.
I think people need to stop putting DJ Lagway in the same conversation as Lenora Sellers.
Lenora Sellers was a legitimate.
Oh, you're saying stop to me or stop to them?
Yes, them. No, like
DJ Lagway's good, but like Lenora Sellers is
at the end of the year.
Different.
Lenora Sellers was the best player in college football. Like, we can talk about Ashton Jenney and Travis Hunter, but like, he was the best player in college football at the end of the season.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
but the fact of the matter is South Carolina.
Do they have the do they have the talent? I mean, he was carrying the team at the end of the year, like. And so we'll see what happens with South Carolina. I just don't know if they have the pieces. But God, if Lenore Sellers if anyone can do it this year, I believe Lenore Sellers is the guy.
They had a good pass rush, so if they build on that, they had
Tennessee's the most interesting team to me.
Interesting for what?
Just like what the hell are they going to be?
Fall on their face?
I'll tell you what though. I don't think
people are going to start doing that reverse jinx thing where they go, oh, we lost the good quarterback with the drama.
No,
we're going to have the better quarterback because he's not drama.
Well,
it's like that doesn't happen.
Nico wasn't that good last year.
No, he wasn't that good, but the talent was immense.
Yeah.
Like for Heupel not to be able to figure it out with him is jarring.
I do wonder, which I think is a testament to Nico. I mean, UCLA, he'll fit in right in. A bunch of bumps. But I do wonder, and I'm only bringing them up strictly because, we talked about Georgia and how they're going to – it's going to be
they're going to go in there and win 40 to 13.
That's what I'm wondering. Like that's why I'm so intrigued because that is
people thought Tennessee's defense was good.
Yeah, that is what's happened consistently. But, that's going to be their first test on the schedule, right? You're going to go Cupcake, and then into Neyland, which I believe is right up there with Death Valley as far as the toughest places 100%. To play. So that place, and they are dying to beat Georgia. I mean, the team, like,
it's crazy.
For years, LSU, as an LSU fan, Alabama, we were there. I mean, we lost in overtime. We blew games. The TJ Yell. I mean, there was decades of just losing to this team. Most of the time close, some blowouts. Everyone's getting blown out by Bama, but they had plenty of opportunities. We were dying. And when Joe Burrow finally did it, it was like, oh my God, this is the best moment of our life, right? And that's what Tennessee was like with Bama as well, but also now Georgia. They've beaten Bama a couple times. They can't.
Which is so mind-boggling.
They can't beat Georgia.
Understand.
They cannot beat
Kirby
Georgia.
owns Josh Heupel. It doesn't matter if it's Sanford, if it's Neyland. It does not matter where it's at. Kirby Smart, just like Sark. Did it in Austin. Did it in Atlanta. He's going to do it in Athens. He's going to do it in Neyland. I mean, there's just some cats that they've got your number. I mean, Tennessee, I was so shocked when people were like, when Big Ten people were like, see, that Ohio State beat Tennessee. It's like, guys, Tennessee was worse than Ole Miss last year. Like Ole Miss, Ole Miss had a better defense, a better offense, a better coach.
Those games were played. I mean, we watched Ole Miss beat Georgia by 20, and then Tennessee lost to Georgia by 20. Yeah. So I agree. We got to go to break. We got one more segment on this Friday. We just spent the last several segments talking about it, so let's give our prediction. Who is going to win the SEC this year?
I'll give you a title game.
Do they win the Natty?
I'll give you a title game. God, this one's hard. Oh, this one's hard. Because Texas is not better. I do not think Texas is going to be better than Bama and Georgia. But guess what? They have the easiest schedule in the entire conference, which is such a load of bullcrap. Greg Sankey deserves to have his face rubbed on the carpet for that. I mean, it's everyone thinks that Texas is running the SEC. They've got Georgia. That's it. It's crazy. So it's hard not to pick Texas just because it's such an easy schedule. And then you've got Bama and Georgia, and maybe LSU sneaks in there. I'm going to go Texas and Bama. Georgia still gets into the playoff. Don't worry, Bulldogs fans. But no, because Georgia gets all the games at home. Georgia, Texas, rematch. Georgia wins. And all three of those teams still get in. LSU sneaks in too.
Yeah, I go Texas and LSU. Texas and LSU. I'm homering picking it.
So that would basically have to mean that Georgia is going to lose to Bama, two of Bama, Ole Miss, and Texas.
LSU's running the table in the SEC. The only loss they'll have is Clemson in the first week of the season. And we'll all be depressed. And we'll be like, we did it again. Brian Kelly, get this guy out of Baton Rouge.
Hang him by the I-10 bridge. I swear I will seriously be calling for that guy's head if we are not in the playoff. I mean, this is make it or break it, Brian Kelly.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone will be going for it. I mean, LSU, I'll give them credit. They typically oblige. They do.
They listen.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Because it gets loud. It gets loud quick, and it's already loud. It's already loud. And this is the roster. They went out and spent a crap ton of money. And that's another thing, right? Like, we're talking about buyouts is probably the reason you don't fire a coach too early, that you paid a bunch of money. But now you're paying a bunch of money for players. And if they're not making the most out of those players, what are we even doing
Let's go get a B coach with an A roster.
Drinkowitz. pair him
Dude,
with,
and you don't even have to pay Drinkowitz all that much. You just tell him,
pair him with Baker.
Here's Baker. He's already your guy, and this roster is way better than anything at Missouri. Look at Tiger Stadium. Look at the facilities.
You're just upgrading Tigers.
Yes.
Better uniforms, better looking Tiger, live Tiger in there.
Yep. We will cheat to get you more money.
I just wanted to rewind. I just picked them to go to the SEC championship, and now we're talking about firing Brian Kelly.
He'll be hanging by the I-10 bridge. I swear to God.
If he doesn't make the playoffs, I agree. I think LSU's got a relatively favorable SEC schedule compared to some of these teams. Texas definitely more favorable. But they definitely have a manageable schedule, I would say. So I think they're going to win some games this year and sneak in to the SEC championship and beat Texas, of course. What are we talking about? That wraps our show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll be back with you on Monday.